Damn, I am so excited. I always say that because I do. I really genuinely stream days. I wake up with a big smile on my face because I know I'm going to have a beautiful conversation. Austin, welcome to the Mikey G podcast experience. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. Excited for the conversation.
Dude, I cannot wait. Before we get into that, a little catch up about Mikey G. Shit's popping off, people. Get excited. So, I have a couple AI companies I'm helping to build. One of them I won't talk about yet. The other one, though, super interesting. Uh, we talk to AI in a black box, right? You send your stuff to an LLM, you have no clue what the hell the AI is doing. It tells you it's thinking a little bit. But actually, this is the beauty of the podcast, right? This was a previous guest like a year and a half ago, had a startup, did not work out well, failed for many different reasons. Dude's a brilliant dev guy, but he has used blockchain to cryptographically record everything the AI is thinking. He's built his own custom AI machine learning algorithm, and it actually verifies what the AI is thinking, why it's thinking, and then documents it in a cryptographic kernel. So you have verifiable evidence of if this thing does go off the rails, you can use it in a court of law. And obviously, it has huge implications for the medical field, the financial field, all of the things that are highly regulated. It has its own system to build its governance stocks and abide by laws and do temperatures and all that stuff. Wild, wild system. Really, really cool. As you've also seen, I'm still on Twitter. I still love Web3. I'm super excited to have a conversation with somebody like Austin who has such a pedigree in the space. I have switched a lot of my content to LinkedIn because what we really do here, let's be honest, we're talking about how to level up, how to get through adversity in life. Web3, I love you, and you say you care about it, but you really care more about making money. That's okay. That's totally fine. I'm good with that. So, but a LinkedIn space, a little more receptive. I found Reddit forums with millions of people that hate corporate America and are trying to start a side hustle or be an entrepreneur. And this is exactly the things that we're trying to talk about here. So my content just makes more sense there. I do, though, will continue to have amazing people like Austin, and I have a space once a week. Typically Fridays, DGen hours, 8, 9 p.m. Pacific time. I wanted to say Peastern time, but that doesn't make sense. I was like Pacific and Eastern. For OGT Triple Media, B Rock has been on this show. Amazing human being. He's the founder of OG Triple Media, trying to build genuine media content for the Web3 space that's more about culture, that's more about community, and not so much about finances. So I actually do a similar thing that we do here is where I bring founders on and I have more deep, meaningful conversations. I can't stand Twitter Spaces in general. There are a lot of circular nothingness, vaporware conversation, and so we're trying to change that with it's called Behind the Code. So Austin, I'll probably invite you on there eventually to talk something deeper about a nuance of Web3 or a nuance of building. But that's enough about me, man. The rest of it is all about my man Austin. Dude, you have such a storied background. Um, I don't even know where to start. But I will start with you got a bachelor's degree in business administration from UNC Chapel Hill, which is an amazing school. Founder of the One Big Idea, a media network focused on Web3 insights and previously operated Chasing Curiosity, a Web3 advisory firm. So, what I love about how you're one of the few people that have actually because I took a lot of time doing this and I can tell that you took time doing this too. You have thought about what are you actually doing? And so you spend a lot of time bridging between entertainment and emerging decent tech, right? So like you were actually thinking about, well, what is the product and what is the goal that I'm trying to do? You'd be amazed the amount of people that I talk to that are quote unquote entrepreneurs and builders that say what they're doing is building a product. What I like about is you framed it on the action and what's the actual meaning behind what you're trying to do. In addition to that, most people probably know him from Doodles. He did many, many big collaborations when dealing with Web3 projects and, big collabs such like Adidas, Crocs, G-Shock, and Pharrell. But that's an incredible resume already. One of my favorite things to do here too, though, is to talk about just some personal fact. And he has a album that he would like to share. I totally deleted what that was. So Austin, go ahead, hit the crowd with the fun fact about yourself. Apparently it's a Sad Boy album. Never even heard of this. But what's your favorite album, brother?
Oh yeah, you're missing out then. Phoebe Bridgers' "Stranger in the Alps" is definitely like my favorite album. When I was living in Seattle for 5 years, and it was gray 80% of the year, raining 50% of the year. You need like a good sad boy album, and then I've been able to see her uh, perform for like opening up for at very small venues to now she plays stadiums around the
Huge.
world. So yeah, it's
Right.
pretty great to see.
It's always cool to see, and I'm a big music guy too. I've had favorite band of all time, the Deftones. I've seen them like 20 times in concert. Uh, they blew my mind because they were like in that, I don't know what you call that new metal alt rock era where it was the first time we were getting these like crazy melodies, but then they would just like rip your face off with screaming right after, right? I loved that juxtaposition of the two. But what I was gonna get at is what's cool to see an artist is, and tell me if you think this, the thing about music to me, it's not even necessarily the lyrics. Obviously, it's the vibe, but it's like you can relate to a moment in time. It's the emotional aspect, like this deep meaning to you when you listen to these different songs and you reflect. That's why it's so impactful for me. Why music? Like what is so impactful for you about music?
Yeah, it's always kind of been pretty core to my life. I mean, I worked in music for the first 7 years of my career. It's like the way in which, I mean, it becomes like the soundtrack to your lives.
Yes.
It's the way in which like I feel like I'm able to express how I'm feeling, or lean into any sort of emotion at any time.
Hmm.
Yeah, it has an ability to like move me in a way that other art forms, I don't get the same feeling. So yeah, I
Yes.
I love music.
So similar thing to me, right? Like it transports you to this mood, this feeling, this instance, this reflection.
Yeah.
Um, Dude, I cannot wait for this conversation. And how we get there is a very simple thing. Austin, now, the one thing I did not tell you about this before we got on, I intentionally uh, and just have learned over time, I talk really slow. There are we pauses. This is just how I talk. It adds it adds to the conversation, but I think very deeply before I am talking. So don't mind me if there are pauses. With that being said, my man, the world famous Mikey G podcast experience question. Austin, how did you get the seat you're sitting in today? To reiterate for everybody that is either going to listen to this on the podcast in the future or is listening live now, I used to say episode, chapter 1 is your childhood. Prompting questions here. Were you a tinkerer? Did you play sports? Parents, parental figures. What were some mantras that they had, or a vivid memory? We'll start there and we could go for hours. Chapter 2 is your schooling professional career. Remember here the prompting question, and I'll reprompt you as we get there, is obviously a little bit of a bio of the things that you've gone through, but what I'm really interested in is the failures and what did you learn from those failures that helped reframe. And again, this is all a reflective process, right? I'm not expecting you to be having these novel ideas when you're in the moment. And then chapter 3, obviously how you found Web3. We can talk as much as you want about your journey before there, but ultimately we're here to today to talk about your current project, what you're doing, and what the future looks like. So I cannot wait. Start anywhere you want in chapter one. Before we do that, I hate doing this, but it works. Like, retweet, comment. We already got a ton of people watching. We want as many people. I want thousands of people. I think Dan from Moonsheepverse, we hit our peak. We almost had 6,000 people watching. I think Austin can get over 6,000 people. Let's make that happen, people. Come on. Let's get over 6,000 a day. Like, retweet, comment, do all of the things. And with that being said, Austin, hit me in your childhood wherever you want to go, man.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in upstate New York, Western New York, Rochester. Moved there when I was 4 months old after being born in New York City. My parents met, having spent their 20s in the city. My mom uh, emigrated from Panama when she was 4 years old. My dad moved to New York in his 20s and was doing like night school to get his law degree. Yeah, they had me. I'm an only child. I have like always been a bit of a wanderer since I was a little kid.
Mm,
Played sports. Played, had like friends in the neighborhood that I would hang out with after school. Like I was an outdoor kid. I'd come home immediately, go and see like were we playing soccer or football or hockey or whatever the sport was. Yeah, I would do that basically until the sun went down, and then would go home and eat and then do my homework. Was involved in Boy Scouts. I was an Eagle Scout, not by choice, but when I started in Cub Scouts, my dad sat me down and was like, I got to Life Scout, which for those who know is like the one right before Eagle. And he's like, the biggest regret that I had was that I didn't get my Eagle. And so if you start, like, I'm not going to let you quit. And I was 13 at the time or
right.
12, and my friends were doing scouts. I was like, yeah, sure. But as we got older, as I discovered girls and other things to take my interest,
Yep.
it was harder and harder to want to stay. And he would not let me quit. So I got my Eagle, I think when I was 16, which is a point of pride. Was in National Honor Society, and did the IB program, like International Baccalaureate, which is started as like an expat program to have like a uniform curriculum. It's kind of similar
Right.
to AP for people that know what that is. It's just like a
Yeah.
different type of diploma.
Right.
So that was good. And yeah, I think I was just always like looking outwards as a kid. Rochester felt it's a little big town. I mean, the city itself has like a
Yeah.
million people. My town of Greece had 100,000 people with four high schools, so it was like a fairly big town, but it felt
Uh-huh.
very small, and I was always looking to leave. I like applied. Basically, every school that I applied to was out of state.
Okay, hold on, hold on. We're
Yeah,
getting to
so
college already. Dude,
yeah.
you said so many beautiful things. I want to start with your parents because I think this is interesting. And again, this is reflecting. You talked about your mom was an immigrant, but I think the most important thing that you said, and I want to know reflecting back, is your dad working part time going to law school. When you look at reflecting back, more the characteristics that you got from your parents, some of the traits, some of those mantras that I was talking about. It seems like hard work's one of them, but I'm sure there's so much more to unpack there. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I think hard work is at the top of the list. Like I mentioned, yeah, my dad like put himself through night school at St. John's, and then he became a public defender.
mhm.
So, and it was a point of frustration for me early on in my life as a kid because we were the definition of like lower middle class. Like I never had to worry about if there was going to be food on the table, but
Right,
money was tight.
right,
Uh, I couldn't do a lot of the things that my friends were doing.
Right.
my parents were riddled in debt, uh, and there was a clear way out. Like my dad could have done anything else with his law degree. Like he could have done like white collar. Like he was
Ooh.
clearly like really, he was smart enough to do whatever he applied himself to, but he wanted to help people. And so I think my relationship with money and purpose is really like driven a lot by him in focusing on things where it might not lead to the best financial outcome, but it feels the most purpose driven. And then
So
yeah.
say that this is why I love this, man. We're already getting deep and it's beautiful, but even what you said there is a little contradictory, and it life is a bunch of contradictions, right? Because one, it frustrates you that your friends get to do all of these other things. But on the other side, you're like, dude, my dad is a little bit of a hero in the sense that like he chose to do good and not make as much money, right? So there's this contradiction there. How do you juggle that? Like, have you
Well, it comes with
reflected?
yeah. I mean that comes with reflection.
Oh,
The
sure. This is all reflective, by the way.
yeah
So
the
tell me about that.
my dad was not my hero when I was a kid. Like
Oh,
I
for
was
sure, for sure, for
I
sure.
was frustrated more than I recognized the good that he was doing. That comes with age and time
Yeah,
and reflection. And so yeah, I think that's just like maturity, and then also just having to make those decisions in my life where
right.
I could chase after something that would be more lucrative but wouldn't be as fulfilling.
Yep.
And I think it's also shaped a lot of my like early work career, which I know you don't want to get into that chapter, but we can talk about that when you're ready. Yeah, that's kind of
That
how I've thought about it.
and I think more I was getting at the point of not necessarily like your dad being your hero in the sense of and it's okay if we go off a little bit in a work career, but I like for me, I think about the same uh thing. And I would love to just hear your instance or maybe your aha moment when you were like, hey, I did make decision to not chase the money, but now I feel more whole. I'm glad I made that decision. Have you have any reflection or moments like that where
Oh
you're
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, for sure.
like I would love to hear about one of those because I think these are the things um like I can give you mine and I would love to hear yours. And I think these are the things of why people listen to this podcast are impactful. So for instance, I was the guy making the Geico commercials, right? I was like, everyone saw the Geico commercials, the height of the Geico commercials, the caveman, the camel, all of these, the gecko, all of these things. The most miserable I ever was um, hungover alone in my Fairmont hotel room in Santa Monica, across from the Santa Monica Pier, with celebrities walking through the hallway, and everyone in their mind dreams that they could be me. But in reality, it was not ever where I want to go again.
Yeah.
That's my realization, right? And that was all this perception of one, whoever's doing that's making a ton of money, but in two, that's a ton of money. Listen, I always say it's the best fun I never want to have again. But my realization is um, that is not what life's about. I'd love to hear a little bit about you.
Yeah, I think the first time I was at like a major inflection point in my career was at Amazon, where I had joined in 2014. As like a little bit of a history lesson, the share price then was a fraction of
Yeah.
what it is now. And I worked there for 5 years, moving into music pretty early, where I had a passion. But I launched basically their like Spotify premium competitor in the U.S. and then globally, and had like I was 25 at the time. I had a moment of reflection where I could see my entire path
Mm,
at Amazon of like what it would look like to climb up the ranks. I was 10 years younger than everyone else who was doing my job, and they were still doing that job. And so it was very clear to me that like I could have a comfortable, financially successful life just riding that wave.
right.
And I got to a bit of a crossroads where I felt like I had accomplished everything that I wanted to at that company, and it had given me so much in terms of like frameworks and how to like just get my professional career off the ground, but that the
Right.
next step I wanted to take was like the leap into the unknown and trying to build something from the ground up and working at a startup, and just continuing to kind of build my skill set and
Yeah.
have a growth mindset, even though like I had to take a pretty significant haircut in my salary, and obviously
Yeah.
like the options go away and everything, and deciding to go work for a music startup that had just gotten off the ground, that I had an opportunity to kind of like help build from 0 to 1. So that certainly was an inflection point. I think in leaving that role, deciding to join Doodles, and then you know leaving Doodles and
Yeah.
building again something of my own,
Yeah.
deciding
So
to move to
this,
Ohio and everything.
so I can chime in here. That's a good detour, and I'm glad you did that. So now going back to chapter one, what's interesting to me is there's this notion of entrepreneurship, which is, and I love that you painted a beautiful picture, which is this vivid memory of like, if I stay at Amazon, I could have this trajectory, but I don't want that because it's almost like too cookie cutter, right? And you choose to take this leap of faith, but so far from your childhood, I am interested now in thinking back about and reflecting as you're going and growing up through that journey. Where does that art come from? Because I do, your parents did have hard work, but your dad still did a traditional job. He was a lawyer. So talk to me about entrepreneurship and where you start thinking you're manifesting that as you're growing up and learning new things. Because you also did mention one thing that I thought was interesting too, is you've always been a little bit of a wanderer. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I I think I would reframe particularly my dad's job as a public defender is
Yeah.
certainly not traditional in the sense that I think a lot of people think. Like he worked from home. His cases were assigned to him by the state, but he
Uh,
was more or less like an entrepreneur
Gotcha.
in that respect. And then was always kind of doing little like odds and ends roles within the community. He tried to become a judge at one point. He like ran for, I think it was city council or the student government board and things like that. My mom tried to like dip her toes into real estate for a little bit and like get a real estate license after having worked retail. And so I think they both collectively like put themselves out there in non-traditional ways to try to support their
Yes.
family.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, that's probably
And
where I get it from.
that is a beautiful insight, right? And I think that is something that people need to hear. And this comes up time and time again on the podcast, man, which is, for anybody that is interested in uh, career paths like Austin is going to continue to talk about, is you just have to expose yourself to as many things as possible. One of the things that I think about often is people a lot ask me all the time, dude, how did you like find something you're so passionate about? Because I do firmly convince passion is the thing that gets you through all this shit. We can talk about that later on. It's because I tried so many different things until something clicked. Do you agree with that sentiment? Do you have anything to layer on there when it comes to uh, being able to take that leap into the unknown?
Yeah, I remember like a few moments maybe like in college, the seniors had to give like a talk to the underclassmen, and my talk was about following your curiosity. And I think that's always been my North Star is just remember Steve Jobs talking about in the Stanford commencement speech, this idea of like trusting that the stars will align when you look back and
Yeah.
not worrying about the plan. Was it like we make plans and God laughs type of thing? I've always kind of thought in that respect.
Mm,
And so I just kind of like go where my heart tells me to go because I know that I will be able to give my best effort and like I will peel back the layers that other people don't because I find it fun and like I'm willing to spend so much time on it because it doesn't feel like work to
yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So that's always kind of been my guiding principle. Like I'm in some ways envious of people who can do jobs for the paycheck and they work to live, not live to work. I think
Uh-huh.
that's actually very healthy. I've
Yeah.
never been able to do that. Like I
Yeah.
get so frustrated and I feel like I am wasting away my life if I'm not
Mm,
spending every waking moment like chasing after where my passion lies.
mm. Dude, that is such a because I've had like kind of the opposite experience, right? But we've come to the same realization because like I hit the tops of like corporate America and I
Mm-hmm.
had big roles and I'm still in corporate America, right? But I have multiple side hustles and passions and I got there in a different way. And it's so interesting that you say that sometimes you get a little frustrated and jealous because of the people that have chose that path too. But then at the same point, I promise you this, a majority of the people that are in that position are jealous of people um, like you that have
Yeah.
creativity in these choices. And I think I, th- my answer, my answer to this kind of like juxtaposition or how do you navigate this, right? This constant struggle as an entrepreneur or as a career person. Um, you really have to sit down and deeply think about what drives you, right? And I did this. Fortunately, I survived my mental health crisis that I told you about.
Yeah.
But that forced me to do it. And a lot of people don't have these realizations. For me, it was, friends and family, flexibility, and then financial freedom. But I put financial freedom at the bottom because I knew um, a lot of times to get to pure financial freedom, you can't spend time with friends and family for a long
Right.
time, right?
Yeah.
And I've made this decision to find remote work, create flexibility, but then still work on my side hustles. For you, how do you navigate these constant pulls for you? Is it just like you said, that passion, that creativity that makes you whole, or is there something else there?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think the way that you layered your values and priorities is a very healthy one.
Yeah.
I am not always there
Hmm.
where my work completely consumes me
Yeah.
and I am not as good of a friend or a son or a partner that
Right.
I need to be. And I feel really blessed that I have people in my life who are accepting
Yeah.
of that when I need to just like go full on into something. And
Yeah.
I would say, like, particularly in this phase where, we launched the company about 6 months ago,
Yeah.
I uprooted my entire life, left all my friends, moved away from my parents. Part of why I wanted to be in New York City was that I was a really short flight from my parents to see me.
Yeah.
I'd seen them more in the last 2 years than I probably had in the last 10.
Amazing.
And to kind of like give all that up
Yeah.
to go chase after something,
Yeah.
Yeah, it came with a lot of sacrifice, but I think it also came with an acknowledgement that like I couldn't be all that I wanted to be in this life if I didn't go and chase these things. And so I feel really grateful that I have a really support like a great support system. And I try to balance when I can, like showing up for them as well. But yeah, it's the concept of like work life balance doesn't exist for me. It
Yeah.
very much is like a spectrum where like
Yeah.
sometimes I'm able to invest more in my relationships, but it means that I'm having to take a step back from work. Or sometimes like
Right.
right now, it's like it feels like everything is work, and I have like a little bit of time for my friends and family. And the holidays will be an opportunity that I get to go
Yeah.
home. I get to see my parents. I get to talk to my friends.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of the phase of life that I'm in, so I try not
Right.
to get too stressed about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you shouldn't, because what you said is just beautiful. Like, again, this is why we're here, man. Like, thank you for sharing that, because this is the other thing. Like, yes, I laid out my um story and my mantra and my pillars and everything, right? But like, is that reality day to day? No. All I'm saying is that I have my guiding stars. And you are exactly right. I promise you this. Anybody that's come on this podcast and that has done something, they have to make sacrifice. You cannot have it all and do insane, meaningful things, right? But you have to start then putting things into your life. So, for instance, I have a 2-year-old son, right? I have, just like you, literally a reason to be on my phone or in front of a device for
Yeah.
24 hours straight.
Yep.
I can easily do that, but I physically have to start putting my phone away
Yeah.
because I know my son is only 2 once.
Yep.
And there are so many times where I'm like, I want to travel the world. I know if I were in conferences all the time, my all of my side stuff would be 10x, but I'm
Yeah.
willing to not go 10x at this moment in time, and I'm making this is a form of sacrifice, right? And you sharing that, this is why I also wanted to bring this up is we have hundreds of people watching right now. They also need to understand, they just we're humanizing you right now, right? Because you are a founder and you have the same thoughts and anxieties and depressions and all of the thing. We all bleed red blood. People, give people like Austin a freaking break, man. He is sacrificing his life, his friends, his relationships, his family for you all. And you're just a lot, I'm not gonna say a lot of, but there are a portion of you here that just care about a flip. Like, give the man a break. Really support him. Genuinely support people in this space because you care about them as human beings. And I don't know about you, but we already been talking over a half hour. I'm a believer. I can tell that you're genuine. I can tell that you mean what you say, and I can tell that you're really passionate about what you do. So thank you already for sharing all the things that you've shared. You've already been vulnerable, and this has been amazing. I want to get to kind of your little middle school, high school, and really more a
Sure.
little bit about the skill set and your passions, and
Yeah.
then we can start going into chapter 2. Um, we have, I think, almost over 500 people watching. Like, retweet, comment. We at least got to get over 1,000 people watching. People, like, we have to hit 1K plus. So, like, comment, retweet, do all of the things. This has been an incredible convo already. So let's shift a little bit here, man, to um, more skill sets and passion, right? So you say
Yeah.
you're a wanderer, you're in this small, big town. Music obviously is a passion. Talk to me about how you're starting to get excited about these different things.
Yeah. I think there are a few moments from my childhood that really stick out. Like I mentioned, my parents didn't have a lot.
Right.
And so like I wanted to do things like travel soccer, and it just like wasn't in the cards. But one thing that they saved up for years, and something that I really wanted to do, was this program called People to People. It's a student ambassador program started by the Eisenhower administration, where people would go, like students in high school would go to other countries and get to learn about their culture and kind of like spread Western ideals. Like it's kind of propaganda stuff, but it was really cool as like an opportunity to go as a kid and like go experience another culture. And I hadn't ever really left the Northeast. And
Right.
so I don't know what it was, but like as a kid, I was obsessed with Australia. I think the like foreign nature of it, like the kangaroos, like didn't seem real to me. It was my favorite animal when I was a little kid. And so around when I was 16, they had saved up enough for me to go to Australia for 3 weeks. And I went on a bus and traveled basically the full like eastern seaboard from Cairns down to all the way down to Sydney. And we'd stay with a host family. I stayed on like a farm for a week. We bounce around and like talk to other school children and climb like the Sydney Harbor Bridge and did all these different things. And it was I had always been independent. Like my dad particularly was the type of person he's like, you have a bike, you can go wherever, just like let me know where you are. And getting out of my environment in that way, I was like, oh, okay, like I know that I'm meant to see more and experience more. And I think that played a huge part into like me going to school out of state. And I've lived in so many different places, which we can get into.
Right. Right.
But yeah, that was a big piece of like I just kind of followed that. And I didn't know in terms of like skill sets and everything. When I went to school, I thought I wanted to be a journalist because I was a huge sports fan. I'm still a huge sports fan. The idea in my dreams was to be a sports broadcaster because you get paid to watch sports. Like, what is not to love about that? And we can talk about how I kind of like pivoted away from that as I learned a little bit more about the industry and not so much meritocracy. There are very few slots available to do the type of work that I would want to do. But that was a big thing of me going, like deciding where to go to school. I
Right.
picked all the top journalism schools. My I remember distinctly my dad being like, I would recommend you get a liberal arts degree. Like I've never seen you enjoy writing, but it's your life. Like you go do whatever you want to do. And they also
Right.
got really mad at me because I had gotten because I did IB and AP and everything. I had
Yeah.
gotten packets from multiple Ivy League schools, and
Right.
I didn't apply to any of them because it was much more important to me to go to like an environment where like the requirements were like good journalism school and good sports. Like it's a thing that's so like innate to who I am that I couldn't imagine going to an Ivy that like wasn't playing like significant D1 basketball and football, which I know is
Dude,
ridiculous, but it's
reflect
true.
back to me on that. Like
Yeah.
that is a huge decision that you've got Ivy League offers and you decide that. Is that back to this conversation that we're talking about of just you're you knew that you needed to be true to yourself and you're
Yeah.
starting to evolve and realize and reflect that, right? Is it as simple as that?
It just didn't feel like me. Like I don't think I would
Mm,
have been happy in chasing status
wow.
for on the other side. And like, don't get me wrong, like UNC is a great school. Like I'm very happy with my decision and the lifelong friendships that I've been able to make because of
Right.
that. And I just had so much more. I was able to be so much more of myself and grow into the person that I am because it was an environment that I felt both challenged me and excited me. And
Right.
I didn't get that from any of the Ivies. It just wasn't. It didn't feel right to me.
Dude, and that is I firmly believe decisions like that help you shape so much more character as a human being than being just doing what you're told to do.
Yeah.
Beautiful insight, man. Beautiful insight. Um, as far as journalism, because I thought for sure you were going to go to music. What was it about journalism? Talk to me a little bit more about that. Like, get into deeper into that because that's interesting to me. Because a lot of your background has already been centered around music. So what's journalism all about to you?
Yeah. For me, it was just a way to get paid
Mm,
to watch sports. I was like, this is I'm a diehard Buffalo Bills fan. I grew up a huge Syracuse Orange fan.
Nice.
The idea that like they were gonna pay, and that was always kind of speaks to the like I need to do something for work that I'm passionate about. And I was like, oh, I could like
Mm-hmm.
write about sports. Like that's something that I like love to
Mm-hmm.
do. So that's where that decision initially came from.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had the opportunity freshman year to go. I had come in with a bunch of credits in doing IB, and so I took my second semester freshman year and did the Disney college program where you
Yeah.
go to Orlando, Florida, and you kind of just like work around the parks and you meet a bunch of other kids. And that was, for whatever reason, kind of like a moment of reflection. I think it was the first time where I kind of like stepped off the tracks for a second and had a
Uh-huh.
moment to like reflect on my path and realizing like, oh, I don't like to write. And wait a second, like the more I learn about broadcasting, there's like one color commentator and one play by play on each of the major networks, or you're working regionally and you're working your way up. And that just didn't sound appealing to me. And I started to gravitate much more to entertainment and management,
Right.
thinking I wanted to be like an agent instead. And so I came back to school and we can kind of like talk through that.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
was the kind of the inflection point.
Dude, I the other thing that I actually heard you say that you probably didn't think I was paying attention to is you just like nonchalantly talked about the Disney situation. And it's like you have ripped off so many things over the last, like, say, 5 minutes of like one thing people dream to aspire to do. And then you've done all of these things. And it just goes back to this mantra of uh, expose yourself to as many things as possible because it gets the richness of your experiences and your the best thing my version of this is I've talked to almost 250 founders at this point
Wow.
around the world, right? My brain has exponentially grown just because of hearing these experiences and these mindsets, and it's none of it's just a beautiful thing, and it's got to be critical, even if you're not an entrepreneur, even if you're just trying to navigate this thing called life. Because by the way, AI is drastically going to change your life because it's going to rip. Unfortunately, I think we're about to hit the biggest pandemic that the world has ever seen, which is complete loss sense of self. A lot of people that have a title and a certain salary, that's all going to be ripped away. I mean, I was just reading yesterday. There's one of the I don't know if you pay attention to the benchmarks, but one of the benchmarks is if you give an agent $100,000, what can they do with that, right? And how long does it take them? Can they 10x and get $1 million? And they pick the disciplines, like 10 to 15 disciplines that have the highest impact to GDP. So like lawyers, software engineers, so on and so forth. It went ChatGPT 5.2 that just released went from a 30% to a 75% benchmark on that, which is
Wow.
meaning if you project that out to the end
Yeah.
of next year, we are going to have 90% of what people, quote unquote, believe who they are as a being, and this is why they're on this earth, stripped away because AI will be able to do it better. And that 90% is, or the 70% says 70% of the time for all of these disciplines, AI can do it quicker and better than a human. And that is going to happen. Like I thought maybe 2028, right? This shit is like end of 2026. So there's already the narrative of like, dude, corporate America eviscerated here
Yeah.
soon. And so back to the point of what I brought this up is you got to try, be rich, do wild things. And you
Yeah.
just ripped through all of those things. Beautiful, beautiful insight, man. I think this is a perfect time to break. Like, comment, retweet. We're rapidly approaching 1,000 viewers. You guys can make this happen. I feel very good in you. We're going to transition to chapter 2 here, which is really the college, the schooling career. The one thing that by the way, I think his name is Penna. He came from Syracuse. Receiver. I'm a Penn State. I went to Penn State.
We are.
Yeah, Michael Penna, right? I think is his, or what is his name? We got a receiver from Syracuse this
Oh,
past
I
year.
don't know. I see.
Little
After going to Carolina, I've given up all of my loyalty to the Orangemen.
So now you're a
And
Tar
they're
Heel
in
fan.
the ACC now, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't really
I
root
get
for
it.
them.
I get it. I understand it. But yes, we got a killer receiver from Syracuse. But unfortunately, as you might have seen, Penn State actually set a record this year, and it's the record you don't want to set, which is
Mm.
for the first time in BCS history. Uh, we started as pre-seed number 2 and we fell out of the top 25. There's never been a team ranked that high fall out of the top 25. Penn State did that, baby. Fired their coach and ended up 500. So that's what we did this season. But
Yeah, it's
let's
crazy. I'm sorry for that.
it's bad. It was bad, man. So one thing though, when we start talking, we're gonna start talking about high school. Unless there's anything from like high school era, or we want to go to college, let me know.
No, I'm good.
Um, Talk to me then about sports. I think this is the other theme that's come up already. You have many different passions, which
Yeah.
I also think is super healthy. So why sports and why are you just I mean, dude, you literally said one of the reasons you shot down Ivy League school is because you wanted to go to a good sports school. Like that's
Yeah.
passion, brother. So where did that come from?
It's interesting because I feel like most people get sports passed down from their parents.
Yeah.
Like whatever teams they were into is the teams that they become into. Neither of my parents are into sports at all. I mean, my dad did cross country in high school. My mom played basketball, but neither of them watch sports. I think for me, growing up in Western New York, football is a bit of a religion. Like every TV and
Yeah.
hockey, like every
Mhm.
TV that you would have on during a Bills or a Sabres game, it's all people would talk about. And it's all my friends cared about growing up. And so, yeah, I was glued. And I also didn't have, like I said, my parents didn't have much. So, like, we didn't have cable or anything, but I could watch on Sundays the Bills play. And so that was kind of like my escape on Sundays. I'd watch every single game. And we were awful when I was growing up. We were really, really, really bad. That and college basketball was always on as well. And so
Mm,
that's how I got really into Syracuse.
yeah.
I remember we lost. I was in 10th grade. We lost in the Elite Eight going to the Final Four. And I was
Mm,
so distraught that I told my mom I wasn't going to school the next day, so which is insane. So yeah, it's always kind of been core, one of like the core pillars of my life. And I don't know, I reflect back on it now. I think a lot more about it,
yeah.
from more of a meta sense.
Yeah.
And I remember when Kobe retired, he
Ooh,
talked about how he was going to get into storytelling.
yeah.
And I thought that was at the time, I thought it was the lamest thing I had ever heard. I was just like, you're one of the greatest basketball players of all time. You can
Right.
do anything that you want to do,
Right.
and
Right.
you want to tell stories.
Yeah.
And then Dear Basketball came out. He got the Oscar for it, and you started to see this rise of uh, athletes getting into storytelling mediums, doing podcasts, creating movies,
Right.
acting, etc. And you realize that like all sports are a medium for telling stories. Like that's what the human existence is. It's
Yeah.
like good guys and bad guys. It's
Yep.
people over like the hero's journey and
Yep.
overcoming adversity. It's pulling them up from their bootstraps, and like it's a meritocracy better than anything else I think that exists in the
Yep.
world. And that like
Yep.
if you are good enough,
Yeah.
you have an opportunity to excel,
Yeah.
and you have a place here. And
Yeah.
so there's just a lot of parallels, I think, to how I view life in general. It's just like if you work hard enough, you can achieve greatness,
Yeah.
which I think I've just always resonated with.
Yeah, dude. It's a beautiful insight. The other thing I heard you say that you didn't say, and I think this is a very uh very good skill set that has just been destroyed by the ecosystem of social media and constant being pounded with information is you're thinking deeper, right? Like, and Kobe started you down that journey of to think like storytelling and a world class athlete that makes no sense. But when you start pulling back the layers of like what the impact or what a story actually means, and then you just related it to like, oh, this is actually all of sports. I can't stress enough for everybody to just question why and to think a little bit deeper. And you just explained that in a beautiful way. So thank you for that, man.
Yeah, of
All
course.
right. So college and professional career. Let's believe it or not, we've been talking for an hour and we're that was one of the longer chapter ones I've had, but you just have so much beautiful insight. Um, let's talk about anything you want in the kind of like coming of age college part. And then I would love to get 2 to 3 highlights of your professional career. And again, in how the Amazon thing was beautiful of like, hey, I saw my cookie cutter career and I couldn't do that. But those 2 or 3 career insights, I'm really interested in the failures, again, the lessons learned. So
Yeah.
a little bit about college, 2 to 3 failures, lesson learned, then we'll get into Web3.
Yeah, so I think the biggest from college was it was the first time that I was like fully
Yeah.
independent on my own. And I initially struggled with that.
Mm,
I got really bad grades. I was on academic probation. I got mono, which I feel like is a rite of passage for
ooh,
everyone. And so then
yeah.
that kind of that compounded where I wasn't able to go to classes and it got worse. And so I was in a pretty precarious spot. Like I didn't get suspended, but I was pretty close. And when I came back from Disney, I decided that like I wanted to go into the business school. And the challenge with that is that the Kenan-Flagler Business School at UNC for undergrad is like one of the most competitive in the nation. The average GPA, because you have to apply to get in undergrad,
Mm,
like usually after you're like halfway through your sophomore year, the average GPA is a 3.6 on a 4.0 scale. So you're talking about, people that are basically just under an A average. And
yeah.
I was at like a D C average. And so I went to the admissions office and kind of just outlined where I was at and why I felt like if I was given an opportunity, like I would show them that it was worth it, that like I would excel. And so they gave me kind of like a roadmap of to-dos before I applied. They put me in all of the prerequisite
Yeah.
classes, like the econs of the world, and they're like, you
Yeah.
have to ace these.
Yeah.
They were like, you have to go and get multiple internships. You have to stay here for the summer and take more classes and basically prove to us that this was kind of an aberration your freshman year and you
Hmm.
actually are committed.
Hmm.
And so I did all those things. I had multiple internships. I got to do one with electronic arts, which was sick because they gave me all of the, like I got, a PlayStation, Xbox, and
That's so
FIFA and
cool.
Madden. And so everyone in our house would like come by my room because I got the games like 3 weeks early, but I would
Yeah.
put on like tournaments in all of the different dorm rooms and just like do these like tailgate experiences that we were promoting EA with. So that was awesome to do as like a teenager. And then I did some like advertising for like a car dealership where I was like helping them with their social media and putting out posts. And so I was doing this outside of school on top of I had like a job as like an intramural referee, so like for
Hmm.
flag football and things like that, just to make a little bit of money. Took all of the prereq classes, stayed over the summer, which summer in North Carolina is brutal. Just absolutely crazy humidity, 90 degrees every day. And then when I applied, I my like prereq GPA was above that 3.6. My total GPA was still like below a 3 just because of
Right.
how poorly I had done. But they took a chance on me, and they let me in, and I was able to parlay that into an internship with Procter and Gamble my junior year, and then that led to interviewing with Amazon and joining their retail undergraduate program. So that was kind of like college in a nutshell and like facing some pretty significant adversity and being able to overcome it. And then, yeah,
So real quick, again, what I really heard you say is you failed, right?
yeah.
Failed there in the beginning. Where do you? This is back to, and there could be many reasons why, but there is a sense of like grit and no option to fail. Like not many people go through, because I went to Penn State, right? So I mean that's a massive school, and I saw this all the time. Even my best childhood friend, R.I.P. He was my tennis partner. He came from a really strict family, dude. Our freshman year, he just went off the fucking rocker, right? Like just lost it because he had this crazy sense of freedom and he was just a super energetic guy, but he never did what you did. So my question to you is, was it like, again, reflecting back, was it just this feeling of dread? Was it like, I don't want to disappoint? Like what was the thought there?
I think I've always been intrinsically motivated. Like I
Mm,
have never, my parents have never pushed me to achieve some goal other than to have an unwavering support for me. So I know a lot of people growing up would like bring their grades home with dread of like, oh, if I didn't get all A's, like I'm gonna get grounded, or like my parents are setting some sort of like expectation. Mine were always just like, is this the best that you can do? And if I could answer that truthfully, yes, then they were good. And if not, then that was on me to figure out. And so yeah, I've just always had a very strong internal locus of control. Like I never blame externalities. I never focus on like what I don't have. I always focus on like what I'm able to achieve, and that's just served me really well. And so when I see big hairy goals, it's like motivating. Like
yeah.
I don't really care what the outside world says.
Mm,
I care about how I feel at the end of
yeah.
the day. Like, did I do my best? Did I execute? Did I learn? Did I grow?
Hmm.
And so that's always been it. And that
Yeah.
was it in college when I was like, I can do this. Like, I can
Yeah.
I can get into this program.
It's a
And that's
beautiful
yeah.
insight, man. Yeah, and that's a beautiful insight because the other thing I heard you say, which is again, does not seem like a way to get there, but your parents weren't overly like grinding you on you must do this. It was almost like an unspoken. By the way, I have my dog here in the background just to add to my camp vibe. Like I like that digital fireplace. Uh, it was this unspoken, like, hey, we expect greatness or good from you, but we're also going to give you the freedom. And I have seen this over time on these conversations is um, there's a lot of resentment from the um, parents that act that way, like you must do this or else. And it's interesting though, because there are some people that go through that pressure cooker and looking back, now it's just part of their being and they appreciate it and admire it. But I would say the majority of the more creative people that I can tell, like yourself, what you just described is really important. And I think the theme and the lesson to take out of here is unwavering support of people you love is so critical. And it is a thing that comes up time and time again on this podcast. And support as much as just saying, I love you, I care about you, or just giving somebody a phone call and saying, hey, how are you doing? Like that
Yeah.
is so important. And people miss that a lot. So thank you for sharing that, man. That was beautiful. Uh, 2 to 3 things from your career now. Let's talk about that and major learning lessons.
Yeah. So I spent the first 5 years of my career at Amazon. Like I mentioned, when I was leaving school, I had pivoted to like wanting to be an agent. I Entourage was like really big when I was
Such a good
when I
show.
was in college. It was so good, and Ari Gold was like my hero. This guy who could like literally move mountains and would do anything for his clients, and
Yeah.
kind of just like ran Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot about the major agencies, the CAAs, the WMEs, the UTAs, and realize like, oh, well, to do that, I'm going to have to go into the mailroom, get paid
Yeah.
minimum wage, and work my way up. And like I said, my parents didn't have a lot, and so I left school with a lot of debt. And the concept of going to work minimum wage when I had these like large bills was not in the
Hmm.
cards. And so I my thought was, let me go to work at Amazon, let me pay off my student loans, and then I'll move to LA and I'll start the grind. In that time, I started to talk to a lot of different agents and learn a little bit more about the trade overall, and realized pretty quickly that I did not have the temperament to be an agent.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
You just have to kind of like be comfortable eating it all
Yes.
the time from
Yeah.
every angle, no matter what. And it was very like very nefarious, very dirty, very cutthroat.
Yep.
I think, and I have some friends that are agents that are able to kind of like rise above that, but they are the exception, not the rule.
Mm.
It is like
Oh yeah.
it is not a pretty industry. And so I pivoted into music, thinking, well, this seems more pure. Like people that want to be musicians tend to do it for like the love of the game, or like that was kind of my
Right.
thought behind it. And
Sorry, hold
so,
on real quick.
yeah,
I was getting a call on Telegram. I need
oh,
to
all
shut
good.
that down. All right, go ahead. So yeah,
Yeah,
you pivoted into music.
pivoted into music. I started managing an artist on the side when I was working at Amazon Music. And so we would do shows in Seattle. We went out to Europe
Hold on real
together.
quick. You must have hit your
Oh,
microphone.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not
Sorry.
real.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we would go, we'd do a bunch of shows. I realized in that time that I thought I was signing up to be like the CEO of music business, but like what you actually are doing as an agent or a manager is like not only all of the business side, but also the interpersonal side. Like
Mm.
you are a therapist, you are their first line of defense, you are there in the morning, in the night. Like there is no such thing as turning it off.
Right.
And I'm a very honest person.
Yeah.
I My interpersonal skills tend to be like very direct and blunt. And I feel very fortunate that I have co-founders now that are very high empaths. Like they have extreme empathy, whereas I am just a little bit more blunt. And so it
Right.
wasn't like a great like match in terms of just my type of personality.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was really interested in like the intersection of art and technology that I started to pick up uh, at Amazon, particularly working with independent creators, those that were trying to like have their own hero's journey. And so I led like independent label licensing because that those were the types of record labels that were working with artists that were like trying to break into the industry. And then I've always kind of like resonated with that. And then, yeah, I moved down to LA after 5 years to work on an independent music distributor, took it from 0 to 1, leading product there. That's also when I kind of got red pilled for the second time into crypto and built like an NFT music membership where if you bought, this is 2021, if you bought the NFT, you got access to our distribution software, analytics, reporting, recording studio, community. It was like one of the few projects of that time that had like real utility. And then I left because I was burnt out. I was like so exhausted. Wanted to do something on my own, didn't know what it was going to be, and so I ended up doing some consulting for like Web3 consulting for Amazon for Andreessen, and then I started talking to Doodles because they were the first NFT project that I really got into. I knew all the guys. Uh, Julian Holgan, their CEO, I had known when he was at Billboard. And so he kind of Trojan horse me into like, hey, why don't you
Mm.
consult? That turned into like, hey, why don't you lead strategy and BD? And I'll kind of like teach you how to be a CEO because I know that's like what you're trying to do long term. And that
Right.
was what I did up until 6 months ago when we
Yeah.
started NuCo.
Yeah. Yeah. So take me to, I think I want failures and learning lessons from the professional careers. Just two, maybe one, maybe two, and then we'll get into Web3.
Just lessons learned.
Yeah. Failures and lessons learned from those failures.
Yeah.
It could be people management. It could be strategic. It could be,
I'm a really bad people manager, like really bad.
yeah.
I've gotten the feedback historically throughout my career that I'm very black and white. Like I don't
Yeah.
know if you've ever done I forget the name of the personality test, but there's like
Yeah.
8 different
There's
things
a
or whatever.
ton of them.
So my personality is very much like a Kobe Bryant versus like a LeBron or someone else where like Kobe's will to win is that he is going to show you the way through brute force,
Yeah.
and you're either going to rise to the occasion or you're going to get left behind. And so I have very little tolerance for people that I don't feel are driving themselves to excellence. I don't, and this is something again my co-founders are so much better at than me, of like the coaching and bringing people up with
Yeah.
you and doing it in like a warm way.
Yeah.
I'm very much like, we are an all-star team, and we're not a family. It's like the Reed Hastings Netflix type of approach,
Yeah.
and you have to deliver. Like, and so if I pour myself into people who I feel want have that ambition for themselves, and I have no tolerance for those that don't. And I've had to manage people who are in that second camp, and I have been told, like, I've had people basically taken away from my management because it's a real like I it's a really taxing, demanding type of
Right.
way that I work.
Hmm.
And I could dull it, but I also think that that's what makes me good at what I do. So yeah, that the people management is definitely like a failure in the traditional sense for
So
sure.
I would say you described a type of management. My question to you is, being that type of manager, because I've dealt with those managers
Yeah,
too. I'm actually on the other, I couldn't be more complete opposite of the
yeah.
management style. And I do it because I believe in it, and you do it because
Mhm.
you believe in it. What could you learn from somebody like me who is empathy first? And if I empathize and understand the why behind a person, I can get what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that those with high levels of empathy are able to demonstrate that they care about people as individuals before
Mhm.
work, and that becomes kind of like this engine that then allows that person to like see themselves in a different light, and know, because like they have trust in their manager, that they want what's best for them, that they want to kind of like live up to that and grow in that. And
Yeah.
so I definitely think that there are some like good lessons to be learned there, and I've tried to see people for what they could be
Yeah.
versus like what they are, and
Yeah.
to try to bring that out within themselves uh, in more of a like loving way.
But
But
it's
it's
hard.
something it's hard. It's hard. It's always I've gotten that consistent feedback my entire life, and it is this weird thing where like it's also why I'm good at what I do, because like I
Of
don't
course. Of course.
tolerate things that aren't excellent. Like, because I know what people are capable of, and I'm
Yeah.
willing to push them there. It's a little bit of the like reality distortion field. People will fall to the level that you allow them to in when it comes to like what they can get away with uh sometimes, depending on like their type of personality. Some people, like myself, intrinsically motivated, no one's going to be harder on us than I am. Like, no one can say
Right.
anything on the timeline that would make me feel a type of way that like I don't feel just in doing the job. No one's going to be harder on themselves than me. But
Right.
other people aren't built like that.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is also like I, and this could be a wrong way of looking at it, but it's the way that it works well for me in my career. Like there are certain types of personalities, particularly at like a startup at this type of industry where like you gotta move fast and you have to be nimble and you have to iterate and you have to just want it. There are certain personality types that like I can work well in that environment, and there are other types that like I can't.
Right.
And I
Right.
think also part of it is knowing my strengths as a leader, what will work well in the type of environment that I want to foster, while
Yeah.
also leaving room for like, again, my co-founders are so much better at this than I
Yeah.
am. And so
Yeah.
figuring out how to divide and conquer when it
Right.
comes to that.
Right. Talk to me about, you actually just said something really interesting, which is the type of person you're looking for in this Web3 blockchain, let's say AI tech. Let's
Yeah.
just call it AI tech blockchain startup.
Yeah.
What are those characteristics you look for? And then it's a twofold question. What are the characteristics you look for? But then two, how do you figure out that person possesses those characteristics? That's the most important part.
Yeah, it's a growth mindset and self-starter and high agency. If you have if you have a willingness to learn and work when no one else is looking, it shows up in the ways that you're like how you continually develop your skill set. I look for people who take it upon themselves to learn something new versus those that are comfortable in their defined skills,
Hmm.
because we we're a small team of five
Yeah.
and we don't have the luxury of outsourcing things to other people. It
Yeah.
is, if something needs to get done, one of the five of us needs to do it.
Yeah.
And I'll take myself for an example. Like I took one computer programming class in college because I thought it was interesting and like basic CSS and things like that. I have, through the use of like Codex and Claude and the like, been able to code things that our community is experiencing today. I'm not gonna out myself on like which ones those are, but they have things right now that like were delivered by someone that doesn't have a technical background but is
Right.
willing to learn
Yeah.
how to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
these things. And
Yeah.
so and that's across the board. Like my co-founders are creative, have creative backgrounds, but they were not developing AI content at scale before we started our company. And now
Right.
I get people who reach out to me from Amazon, from major studios, from people that have thousands of employees, and they ask, how did you get that done with the team that you have, with the size of your team,
Yeah.
with the backgrounds that you have? And it's just because like we see every obstacle, like the obstacle is the way. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out. And I notice, and nothing like grinds my gears more, and I think that's why I get animated about this, because I can't tolerate the people that see an obstacle and they throw their hands up and they wait for someone else to figure it out for them. It just is
Mm,
not.
yeah.
It's
You
not how
need
it
that.
works. Yeah.
And that's what people need to understand in that too is they, to your point, especially in the beginning when you're scrappy, you have no other option,
Yeah.
right? And the consequences are failure, and then you move on to something else. Like there's no like in a corporate job, you could fail and then you get to try again on another project.
Right.
In this situation, you fail and you can't buy food.
There's no it like failure doesn't enter my vocabulary.
Right,
Period.
right.
It's like I think, and you put it really well in that like for people that come maybe from a corporate background and a failure is just like, all right, well, like you move on to the next thing. Like it doesn't really impact the bottom line. I see there's certainly things that like we will learn from and do better from, but in terms of like reaching our ultimate goal, like we will not fail. Like
Yeah,
we will trip up, we will stumble, we won't do everything right, but like we will have an unwavering amount of commitment to achieving that ultimate goal, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And the people that allow themselves to have a backup are already halfway to the point of saying that they give up. Like that's just not, there's no backup for me. There's no
Damn,
backup for a
man.
company.
Kobe had an influence on you. He spoke to you. The
Yeah,
cosmic waves, dog.
for sure.
I
Yeah, I mean,
feel
he's
it.
my favorite player. So
I feel it. It makes sense. Yeah, and then obviously you like a goal but to keep it in context, right?
yeah,
Like failure not an option is the mindset. Failure can still occur in others people perceptions of what you've
yeah,
done,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But at the end of the game, end of the day, if you're as a is it so I don't want to mispronounce this, but NuCo?
Yeah, NuCo, like new
Okay.
company. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I thought. Um, the goal is to build NuCo and make it maybe a profitable company. Let's say that is your goal. You could attain that and profit $1,
Hmm.
uh, and that still could be looked and interpreted many different ways. But
Yeah.
the point is, failure isn't an option mindset is a very critical type of mindset in the situation that you are. Dude, beautiful insight. All of this, an hour and 15 minutes. Let's check the numbers. I think we're gonna get over 1,000. I feel good about this, bro. We're getting into Web3. I want to be cognizant of time. I did say an hour and a half, but we are like, we're vibing. I don't know. Do you got another about 20 minutes, or can you handle
Yeah,
that? Or you gotta,
let me just, I do have an 11:30, but I'm just gonna ping them and see if we can move. There's plenty more that I'd love to talk about.
okay.
Um, just one sec.
This is a good sign that we just talked about failure is not an option, and we're potentially moving meetings. This is great.
Yeah, I'm literally pulling up this calendar so I can find a different time. Okay, cool. They have time later today, so let me just book it real
Beautiful.
quick. Okay.
Awesome.
Appreciate the patience.
No, I appreciate all of the just transparency, heartfelt I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that somebody is going to walk away from this and be like, I have hope, and I'm going to change the way that I think because of that amount of just I like to call them bombs, knowledge bombs that have been dropped throughout this conversation. Man, it's been so beautiful, and
I love it.
we're almost at 900 people. I think we can get to 1,000. We're getting there, man. We're getting there. People, we'll use this time as he's resetting. We are going to get into Web3 now and NuCo. We'll probably do a little TLDR on Web3, but also this is your moment in time to get us over a K. Like, comment, retweet, do all the things. There's comments there. You people are loving the deep, insightful conversations we have. This is actually fantastic. So, my boy Jambert, he's part of my OG community. He took a picture of me looking stone cold today and put the red hoodie on.
There we go.
it's it's hilarious. I'll send it to you after. All
Gotta
right,
hood
dude.
up. Yep.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Let's do it.
All right. So let's transition into Web3. I think I'm interested before we just get into NuCo, which is what got you excited about Web3, or maybe like you said, was it the Doodles opportunity that got you straight into it? Were you in it before? Like what? How did you get into it, and why Web3 and
Yeah.
blockchain? Because you now are building a company within this ecosystem as well, too.
Yeah, so it started for me in 2017 when I was still
Hmm.
at Amazon Music. I was
Okay.
responsible for determining basically what our rights coverage looked like across our catalog that we were going to go live with.
Ah,
To do that at the time, for just a little bit of like history, you had to go to all of the individual like centralized repositories of rights owners. So that's music labels, publishers, performance rights organizations, distributors, and piece together who was owed what for each song. So like for a publisher, you have people that write the song, you have people that perform it, you have a bunch of different people could get a percentage of the royalties.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge was at the time, not everyone would submit their splits. They'd send the music without saying like who gets paid and what they get paid for.
Right.
And as a result, there were statutory damages in the United States where if you played something that you didn't have a right to, like you couldn't see who to pay, they
Yeah.
could they could sue you for every instance of that
Whoa.
damage, like every single play. And so you're talking about uh,
Right.
thousands, if not millions of dollars. And there were
Yeah.
a lot of nefarious actors who would deliberately not license their music because they wanted it to get picked up by like a Spotify so they could go and sue them.
Right.
And so my responsibility was to kind of like show what the damages could look like in jumping to all these centralized repositories.
Yeah.
The At the time there were like two companies that were kind of looking to decentralize music rights in dot blockchain BC and like Ujo music. The idea being if you created a decentralized ledger where everyone submitted their rights in one place and you had like a source of truth, then you could make it easier for rights owners and for payees to ensure that everyone was getting paid what they were owed. I immediately became hooked on that because I was
Yeah.
spending my nights and weekends trying to figure out like basically how I make sure that Amazon doesn't get sued for hundreds of millions of dollars. And that was kind of this like rabbit hole that I went down. I wrote a white paper when I was there on like the licensing implications of blockchain.
Mm.
And that's when I started to first buy like my very first tokens. Ultimately, it didn't go anywhere because the powers that be were not incentivized to move
Yes.
to a decentralized model. Because if
Yes.
you're a major label, you're getting paid pro rata on everything that isn't claimed. So like the big guys just end up eating, and there's no reason for them to create a transparent system.
Yep.
They've made their livings being not like being opaque.
Yep.
But that's what first got me into it. And then in 2021, when during COVID, everyone was kind of locked away, I was in Colorado by myself looking at first it was like NBA Top Shot and watching basketball and everything. But then two was I was watching independent artists who were traditionally shut out by the major label system
Mm-hmm.
create a direct patronage model through the selling of NFTs
Yeah.
and be able to support their careers in a way that they weren't able to because they weren't making any money from streaming. They
Right.
weren't getting big advances from labels. They couldn't pay for touring, but
Yep.
it was like the promise of the thousand true fans
Yeah.
where if they had a few, they could like really even people that just wanted to be like, I love your music, I'd love to support, I want this collectible.
Yeah.
It was very like paradigm shifting, and so I sent there was a Pigeon and Plains article about Spotty Wi-Fi that I sent to my co-founders at Venice Music and said like there's something here. Like it's very clear that there's like this rebellious spirit of people trying to circumvent the traditional industry that feel like
Yeah.
they've been like left out. And I think we have a role to play. And so that I give them so much credit in just being like, go figure it out. Like they just
So
gave
cool.
me, we hired another product manager. They gave me runway to go dive fully into Web3. I remember going to NFT NYC. Like the first one, I got on calls with like Catalog and Sound and Cooper Turley, like all the major music players of the day to learn more about like Web3 music. And then came back with, I think we should launch an NFT music membership that allows people to like get access to our distribution software and everything. And so
Mm-hmm.
that was how I first got into it. That's also how I met the Doodles team originally. And I just was obsessed. I think I've always been someone that looks for ways to like disrupt the system for those that like felt like they were left behind
Yeah.
or cast aside. And Web3 was like the way in which people were kind of rising to power and pushing back on the authority and like what they
Yeah.
can and can't do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of how I dove into it and happy to
Dude,
yeah.
great intro. And so I think because man, it's just been such a good conversation. What I want to do is kind of the same thing in Web3 and then get into NuCo, which is 1 to 2 things of huge lessons learned that you're taking into NuCo that you want to do differently?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a big thing when we left Doodles. I think we were pretty jaded, to be completely honest.
Or talk to me about that.
Yeah, so myself and my co-founders, we just we saw a lot of the like dark underbelly of the space and
Hmm.
people feeling like they were again outsiders and that this was an insiders game, it was a cabal game. um, I watched as people wanted to like co-create and build something bigger than themselves, and yet they were constantly told, go play with your toys over there. Like the grown-ups are talking. And it just felt like the space was kind of left for dead, and that people had been burned so bad and were exhausted, and like what was left but like the scraps and the embers to kind of like build from. And so
Yeah.
we talked a lot
Can you
about like,
can
is
you
this,
talk about
yeah.
that though? Like go play with their toys as in like other Web2 investors and people that can help you build or who?
No, more so like I think a lot of the spirit of Web3 and NFTs in particular was this idea of co-creation. Like
Yeah.
your PFP is an entryway into helping us tell this story. You
Yeah.
are not a consumer. You
Yeah.
are an active participant in the building of this
Right.
brand, and you
Right.
should be treated as such.
Yeah.
What we saw time and time again was every single brand figure out after they did an initial raise that they needed to figure out a business model.
Yep.
And the best way to do that was to sell to their community as consumers, and that they didn't actually care about the co-creation ethos. They just wanted a
Mm,
way to their pockets. And you could
yes.
feel it. And everything
Yeah.
felt extremely extractive
Yeah.
and wasn't like we're in this together. It's like, no, we need to fill our coffers if you want us to keep building. And any idea of co-creation was like, well, that's great, but how does that actually impact our bottom line? And so people kind of like left it to the wayside, and that always bothered me,
Hmm.
because there's so much creativity in this community. I truly feel like if you find your way to Web3, it is because like you are seeking something greater than you already have, like a better life, a sense of belonging, a community. You
Yes.
have innate skills. You already took the leap, and
Yeah.
you just are needing someone to unlock that for you.
Yeah.
And so
Interesting.
yeah, that's kind of how we approached it, and why when we created our list of like things that we hated and tried to like knock them off one by one of like how we would do things differently. Like we
Yeah.
wouldn't do, and we can kind of use this to talk about NuCo, but like we wouldn't do a traditional mint. We wouldn't raise a bunch of money from our community and then figure out what the story was or what the business model was. We wouldn't put their co-creation on the side. We would include it in everything that we do with the
Right.
stories that we're telling.
Yeah.
We would give them the tools to actually truly co-create alongside us, rather
Right.
than like, tell them that they're on like fend for themselves.
Yeah.
Uh,
Tell
and yeah,
tell me how, because I have my opinions on how Web3 got here. Uh, what is your opinion on how we had so much hope and like excitement in the beginning, and I don't think Web3 is dead in essence. I think it's never going to be what it was, and we've evolved, and I think we're evolving in the right ways. And people like yourself and people like myself that have seen the underbelly understand a lot of motivations are wrong, yet the people that are trying to do it right are the people that the quote unquote Web3 enthusiasts get pissed off at, is because they don't really understand that they're the ones truly getting taken advantage of, and it's been wrapped in many different new mints or
yeah.
new trailer drops or new like insert fantasy of the future here, right?
Can I, if I
How
can
did
be, yeah. How did we get here?
Yeah.
Candidly,
Yeah.
I don't think there are very few teams in this space that came in with a plan and a business model before they sold to their community. And it's obvious.
100%.
Like I saw people that I had respect for figure out that, oh, we can make millions of dollars by selling cartoon pictures, and we'll figure it out after.
Yep.
We'll figure it out. Like we have money, we have runway. They saw dollar signs, and they were just like, well, let's make that money, and then who cares? And that's why it feels like a rug, because it was like they didn't know what they were doing, and you can just feel when you're being extracted from. And I saw it across the board, and I give some teams credit for trying to iterate their way
Yep.
to what it could be. They're like, make the money, figure it out later, and they try on the back end.
Yeah.
We were not going to do that. Like we needed to think about what the business model could be up front if we were going to build something that was sustainable and wasn't just reactive to the current meta, because your holders can feel that too. Like they can feel it when you're just asking them for money. So that's how I think we got here.
And I love for me to be candid, 100%. And I would actually even layer on. So my Beyond the Code, the title last conversation was, what has Web3 innovated since 2017? And I think one of the biggest innovations that Web3 has that nobody wants to hear is new marketing gimmicks to extract more liquidity from the same people. That's what Web3 has been phenomenal at. Listen, if I told a regular entrepreneur in Web2 to say, hey, there were some people that invented a new meta saying, hey, I want you to apply to give me thousands of dollars to mint my NFT, and I'm going to tell you if you're good enough to give me a half of ETH to give my NFT on the hope that this turns into something. You're applying to give me money? This is fucking wild, man. But Web3 has accomplished that. And so I think exactly that. And I think I'm glad we had this conversation, unless there's any other lesson, like poignant lesson that you want to learn before we get into NuCo, because I think obviously what we just talked about is at the heart of why you wanted to try something new. And I think it is the right move. To your point, my aha moment, like with yours experiences, mine came from hate, right? Like Mikey G is a thing overnight. I am one of 15 mods in the most hyped thing that has ever existed in Web3. We got 1 million people in that Discord server, and now 300,000 of those, at least 300,000 were bots. But it was still an insane time. And I, like you, saw the underbelly overnight, 3 to 5 ETH. 3 to 5 ETH offers saying, Mikey, promote my project, because they knew they were going to make 8, 9, 10, $11 million overnight by whipping up some bullshit NFT that had nothing, and they were just going to take the money and run. And that's why we're here on this podcast, because I was like, I love this space. I see the potential, but I'm not going to fuck people over, right? I want to do it the right way. Beautiful, man. Beautiful conversation. And what's cool is, in 2025 now, we have people like ourselves that are no longer scared to like actually talk about the truth, because we just don't, we want to help people. We don't want to hurt people, right? Any other insights there before you get to why NuCo and the AHA?
No, I think diving into NuCo will kind of illuminate some more.
Okay, so talk to me about this. You said that you found your, well, one, how did you find your founders? Were they a lot of people from Doodles, or is it other people? And then 2, you sat down and started writing things on a piece of paper that you hated. Talk to me about all of that.
So before I joined Doodles, like I mentioned, I was doing some consulting. I had always been told that like I was going to start something, and people saw it for me before I saw it for myself. They were like, you're meant to be an entrepreneur. But I struggled with like, I wasn't technical, and I didn't know like what that idea was. And a lot of what I did with the consulting, and I had like a podcast and a newsletter, was to try to like get my ideas down on paper, talk to a bunch of people, and try to figure out what I wanted to do.
Right.
When I went to Doodles, I very quickly found my people in Squinch and Greeny, who just the ideas would flow out of them. And we spent 2.5 years together at that company where I would fly out here to Columbus, Ohio, where I now live, and we would spend hours into the early morning and weekends, just like brain, like the ideas would just like come out, and we were able to uh, really see each other in every type of situation, like the highs, the lows, the frustrations, which I think is really important
Yeah.
because when I had originally thought of like doing my own thing, I did like the Y Combinator, like co-founder
Yeah.
dating, and you need trust with
Yes.
someone. If you're getting work married, you can't
Yeah.
just like try it out. Like I really feel like you need to just do the work, spend the time to figure it out. And then the aha moment for us, like we're storytellers. Like we wanted to focus on storytelling and content
Yeah.
production in a space where like every IP has talked about storytelling, but no
Yeah.
one has shipped it. It's actually insane.
It's
Like
amazing, isn't it?
how are we years later and like we don't have any shows, we don't have any narrative storytelling. The best that we have is like uh people putting together some stuff for like TikTok on like the viral trends.
Hey man, I told you it's just a new marketing gimmick, right?
Yeah.
It's people
And
excited.
and we wanted something more. I mean, they've been playing Dungeons and Dragons together every Thursday for the
Oh,
last
wow.
12 years. Like
That's a
the,
storyteller's dream.
yeah, natural storytellers.
Yeah.
Like Squinch is a dungeon master.
Yep.
We knew because we wanted to be a part of something bigger. And so there was that of like there are stories to be told here that people will gravitate towards and new ways of telling those stories with the community. And then two, we had acquired an animation studio in Golden Wolf who is phenomenal. Like they're world class in what they do. They've worked with some of the biggest brands in the space, or just in the world. Period. Like the Unreals, the Fortnites, the
Right.
Nikes, whatever. But we also saw AI completely disrupt content production
Oh,
over the past few
huge.
years, and so things that would take dozens of people, multiple weeks, were getting 90% as good from one individual that had some technical expertise in an afternoon. And I remember us talking about doing some, like engaging in some deals where the ask on the like cost per minute of animation was a fraction of like what we would have to charge just given the operating expenses, and that was kind of like a light bulb for me
Yeah.
of okay, the ball isn't moving here, like the ball is already here, like the expectation of clients of studios is that like you're leveraging AI to drive your costs down, and they're already doing it at the biggest level, so like what are we doing? And yeah, so we kind of like had the light bulb of like okay, the next billion-dollar franchises will be made by individuals with a creative studio in their pocket on their couch. It won't be in a boardroom. It won't be in, all of these creatives coming together. It'll be someone who has taste, who has quality, who is able to incentivize a community and speedrun fandom through this co-creation. And so we
Dude.
focus on like what are the tools that are going to be needed to make that a reality, and then how can we launch an IP in Gboy to really be a case study for that future.
Yeah. Bro. Well, one, obviously you see my head shaking. I agree with everything. Like I said, I did all the production and stuff at Geico, and we spent over $2 billion in advertising. This was just 2015, 16. The average cost, guess how much the average cost of a 30-second Geico spot was? Because they were like top tier. Take a wild guess.
This is what time? What year?
Production 2015, 16.
Oh man. 100K?
Try 400.
Yeah, yeah.
Try 400. I shot 3 30-second spots, top tier. Like I'm talking 75 people on set. We might as well have been shooting a movie.
Yeah.
Close to $2 million.
I remember, it's funny you say that. I recently read Michael Ovitz's book, and he talked about doing a deal with Coca-Cola where they were going to do the advertising for them.
Yep.
And they had charged them 300K for the first ad. And Coca-Cola sent back 3 million because they thought it was a typo. They were like, there's no way that you were able to do it for this amount because we've never paid less than 3 million. And so you just see like that's a really illustrative point of also just like how costs are coming down at a logarithmic rate to like where we are in the future, which is like people are going to be able to create, you know, full-length feature films for I
Penny.
can't like pennies like
Literally pennies, dude.
yeah.
Like this is the crazy thing. If you look at the cost of making a VO3 video just over the last 6 months, it is now below $1, and it used to be like $10 per minute. You know, something crazy like that. Like it is just plummeting, and all of this stuff goes the cost is like we are. You know, I was just listening to the head of I forget his name, head of Microsoft's AI last night, and that this is the other the jump that people aren't realizing. Like people don't understand the internet, the apps, the way we deal with online, it all goes away. And in a very short time, it is Jarvis World, a digital agentic entity that is your literally solution to anything in your pocket. Like that is the new world. And by the way, that is all voice activated. Yes, you will still see visuals through AR and in the metaverse and stuff, but our interactions now with technology are a human conversation. And that is a complete paradigm shift on the fact that creativity cost is just plummeting. Like I was just talking to my buddy who owned one of the studios that I used to use, and we've become very good buddies. He's really deep into music. Literally, with is it Suno or Suno's the one of the music
Suno.
AI apps, right? Suno and a couple other. He's still doing all of his original workflow and like Pro Tools and everything, right? But now with the layering of the AI on top, it's insane. And we were actually talking about this is like we're also seeing we're going to see paradigm shifts into people that have like yourself and like myself the real skill sets that utilize AI. It's going to be such a delta gap for the people that are interested in it and using AI to the point. Prime example is what I'll use this analogy. I think this is the best analogy I've found is singer-songwriter. Think about performing artists. A lot of the top ones are those songs and everything are being written by somebody else. With AI, that singer-songwriter now becomes the performer because they can sound and be like anybody, and the base of what they've created, AI just amplifies that. Like we're going into unprecedented territory, dude. I'm so fucking excited that
we think about it a lot from like if you were to I mentioned the creative studio in your pocket, like the types of people that you would need to create a like full length film, right? Like you'd need a writer, a cinematographer, a director, actors, like the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
What I think will be interesting is that people will both be highly specialized and very generalized. And what I mean by that is like come with your unique set of skills and where you can contribute, and then the AI kind of fills the gaps around you. And that's what's been really cool about how we've built NuCo, where Squinch in particular is a natural storyteller. Like he has worlds in his head that he has needed tools because he's not an animator, he's not an illustrator, he's not like a 3D modeler, but he is a writer and he is a world builder, and now he has the tools to translate that into the content that we put out. And I think similarly, you'll find people who are animators and illustrators and have more of the visual elements, but what they haven't had was like, well, how does that construct into a world? How does that construct into a narrative? How are you building something, you know, compounding over time? So for me, it's like, it's almost like you're plugging into an operating system where like you have your specified set of like roles and responsibilities, and you have a team around you that is filling in all the gaps for you.
100%, man. God, it's so beautiful. So this is a perfect segue into NuCo. Elevator pitch, 2 minutes or less. concisely convey to me what you're trying to do with NuCo and your end goal.
Yeah, so we've talked about how we're building the like creative operating system for the next generation of entertainment franchises, and I think one of the things that we've really nailed in this initial run up where G-Boy is literally only 2 months old, we have proven the thesis on how to speedrun fandom through giving your community the tools to co-create alongside you and help propel the story forward, to incentivize them in terms of building something bigger than themselves and showing that they have value here, and then connecting and having an attribution system where you can properly identify each people. And so where our focus is, if you're, when we think about how this scales and grows at the NuCo level, if you are an IP, if you're a studio, if you're a creator who is looking to tell a story, we can give you the tools to help accelerate that co-creation with your community, to help you identify who are the people that will evangelize your brand and help grow with you, and then be able to reward them. And then in building ways and building things in an AI way, an AI native, you can give them the tools to help proliferate and grow your brand. So that's like the elevator pitch, and we've proven that out with G-Boy, where since our initial product in gboyspecial.com that uses all these NuCo rails launched a little under a month ago, we've had over 100, and I think last I checked 120,000 image generations. We've become the fastest growing meme depot in the world. We have almost 6,000 memes in there, over almost 300,000 plays. We've grown our X account from 0 to 17,000. We have over 3 million plays on X. And so that was all from nothing 2 months ago to where we are now. And we think that that is something that you can replicate if you have the right tool set and incentive structure, where if you're a major studio, like, you don't even need to plug in crypto. You could do it with your existing reward in structure. Like if you have something that you think is valuable to your fans that they would want to be a part of. So that's where it goes. I think for G-Boy, it's like we're trying to build both the biggest and smallest IP on Solana. Like biggest in all of the traditional metrics that you're thinking about, smallest in that we want this to feel like it was built for us, by us, with our community, and that there is value in like being a part of this ecosystem, and that it's not just, oh, well, someone else is going to come and buy my bags later, and that's why I want to be a part of it.
Right. Dude, it's such a beautiful, brilliant concept. Here's my question to you. It is natural to go to the creator storyteller route, but I'm already immediately thinking, obviously, somebody like me with a podcast that has a mission to change humanity one story at a time. That is not necessarily IP driven, but opportunities with this tool set. You could even go mundane products. There's opportunities there, right? So what do you think? How are you thinking beyond things that are you just concentrating on the IP storytelling now? Or are you having discussions on how does this system do it for many different things and many different products?
Yeah, I think this is where like my Amazon background probably comes out, where Jeff focused in the early days on books because it was the category that was most likely to be disrupted by internet, but his plans were for Amazon to be the everything store. But it took going from books to CDs to apparel and so on and so forth to now they do everything. There is so much white space in the IP landscape in which I think content creation overall and the way that you build community, incentivize community, is only going to become more and more like necessary as proliferation of content continues to expand. Like, how are you actually bringing people together and allowing them to kind of like cut through the noise? And so I think we have a lot of runway focusing just on IP. I can see in the way that Squish talked about this when we were at Breakpoint, you know, we built the product in a very dry way, in the sense that like, and the way that I think we'll think about scale in the future is working with select partners on a like test pilot basis rather than like open this up as a SaaS product. Because it takes like a lot of hand holding. But the because it's so dry, anyone can plug in any sort of reward system. So long as you have uh, something that you're trying to proliferate and you are able to like plug in and create a like custom trained model against it, and then there are incentives for your community to build it alongside you. It's extensible in multiple different categories, but I think people get they put the cart in front of the horse a little bit sometimes, and like we have so much runway and first ensuring that G-Boy is like the biggest IP it
Oh,
can
for
be.
sure. For
And
sure.
in building the tools that we need for G-Boy, we will naturally create a very strong workbench for
Yep.
any other type of creator as well.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's beautiful. And so what are your I'm interested in what's your mission, ethos, and kind of principles that you live by in NuCo, and I think as a company, not specifically G-Boy, right? Because that's a story and a character
Yeah.
in itself. You as a company, what's your ethos? Your mission?
Are we allowed to curse? I
Yeah.
haven't cursed yet.
I
Okay.
I think I've said fuck a couple times.
Okay. uh, One is like if it's not a fuck yes, we don't do it. Like
Mm,
we historically have been put in positions to do things that weren't a fuck yes for us because we didn't have the control,
yeah.
and it always led to an outcome that we couldn't be proud of. And so that's very core to it. Like we buy this, would we participate in this, is this something we would use as creators but also as community participants, would we find this fun? Which is kind of the second principle. Like it has to be fun. Like we want to bring fun back to the timeline. Not everything needs to be about dollars and cents and speculation. That's part of it, of course.
Yeah.
Like we're not gonna
Yeah.
turn our back to speculation and these financialized things, but can we build something that is like long lasting and fun? And then another one is just high agency. We move fast, break things, and trust one another. Like if someone has high conviction in an idea and it's higher conviction than the dissension, we just go and we learn. And so we ship often really fast without the need for consensus if the person leans in with their chest and they're like we should do this. And so we're not afraid of making mistakes. It's much more important to us that like momentum is the moat. We continue to double down in what we're doing. We're building this for the long run, and we just continue to compound those wins over a very long amount of time. So we've always thought about this in terms of like years and not days or weeks or months.
Yeah.
And we're really confident in our ability to continue chipping away at those goals.
Yeah. Do you think Web3 or the people ingrained in this truly understand what you've already said, which is you're building the creative layer to allow storytelling? Or do you think they're more caught up in just like making cool shit with G-Boy? Like I'm interested in what you're feeling or what you're seeing.
Yeah, I think any community is a combination of various cohorts.
Right,
And
right.
so you have a large amount of the community they're not talking about floor price, they're not looking at the token price, they're focused on the relationships that they're building, the sense of belonging that they've created. These are a lot of people that have been dying to find their home in Web3 and they finally feel like they have it.
Mm,
And so
yeah,
it's showing up for their friends every day. It's trying to solve the puzzles or figure out where the story is going.
right,
It's being a part of something bigger than themselves.
right.
Those are the people that like I ride or die with and like want to make sure that they're having a great time.
Beautiful.
Then you have, of course, like the speculators and like this is people's real money. Like I take that responsibility so seriously that yes, people have discretionary income and it can feel like funny money, but I've talked to people in our community that live below the poverty line, that are in third world countries, that are staking their investment in us through the collection of the things that we've released. And so we have a responsibility to them to do what we can to ensure that we pay them back for that belief.
Yeah.
And so I've never believed the people that are, and I had to deal with this historically of just like, well, floor price doesn't matter, or, like we can't focus on that. It's like, you can. If you didn't want to, you shouldn't have released these things into the world. You could have done them.
Thank you.
You could have
You're
done things that
taking
were
on that.
soul bound.
That's why I never started an NFT. I knew the
Yeah, it's
gravity of what that was doing.
responsibility. So
Yeah.
like if you're not willing to take that responsibility on, don't do it because that's
Yeah.
not fair to
Yeah.
the people that believed in you
Yeah.
and put the effort in. And now like they're showing that belief. And so
Yeah.
yeah, you focus on what you can control. And there are macro conditions to deal with. We have less traders today than we had 6 months ago. Bitcoin is chopping lower. Like it's a precarious time,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean that you get up and you work any less hard. Like I double down. I'm setting up conversations one-on-ones with like every single whale I can talk to and talk about, and be the storyteller and the spokesperson that I need to be for the community. Like
Yeah.
that's the job. If you're
Yeah.
not willing to do the job, you shouldn't be here.
Yeah. Beautiful insight, man. But what you're also doing is being realistic. So you can hit your business goals of like pursuing and delivering on your mission, which is to create this creative engine and storytell and create this new way of building IP. But then two, the reality is like I've seen, and the mistakes are founders are like all in, then talking to the whales and creating hype and knowing that that is part of the space, right? There is a nuance there. You have to have quote unquote investors. Let's just call whales investors in Web3 because that's honestly what they are, right? And you have to balance these two worlds. And it's nice to hear a founder understand that those nuances, but not be too, you have to stay grounded throughout that. That's the difficult part because you can lean in one way or not. Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Let's do this. We've been talking for almost 2 hours. This has been a phenomenal conversation. What I'd like to do is just start winding it down by this, which is what are you currently excited about now? What does the present state of NuCo look like? The next 3 to 6 months, if anything that you can divulge, never divulge too much. I'll give you, I actually asked one last question I ask every guest, and then I'll give you my closing comments. We'll call it a day, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really excited and proud that we got the token out in a fairly stealth way at Breakpoint and that we were able to create a cultural moment. The amount of people that came up to me from the top down, from Raj to Lily to a bunch of people at the Solana Foundation that are paying attention to what we're doing and we got on their radar, like that was the goal. I'm happy that it launched seamlessly with our partners at Orca, that we're trading above. We wanted to be very thoughtful with the launch. We've watched as like every token has been from IP has been down only because they airdropped too much. They tried to get greedy with a high market cap. We dropped our token at a $2 million market cap. Like we wanted it to be, you get in early, you believe in us. Now it popped all the way up to 50 and it's trading, I think, at like 5 right now. But we feel really good that we're like one of the only IPs that I know of that after launch is actually trading positively in the few days out. It's a big thing. So people will see the chart and they'll be like, oh, well, like they went down.
Real quick though, side note, what do you attest to that?
I think a lot of it has to do, like we were very intentional with the tokenomics and supply control. I think a lot of IPs, and this is why we did things in the order that we did them, because when you're an IP that sold NFTs for millions of dollars and then had a community ride with you for years and you drop secondary collections and you ask them for all this money, the like seesaw is out of balance.
Yes.
You have asked for so much and given so little. And so then you are in a position where you have to airdrop 30% of your supply on day one and it has to be a down only chart because otherwise, like you're not even trying to make good on it.
Right.
But we saw how that just drove a lot of sell pressure and the dusting that people would do to say like increase their holder counts and liquidity, but people didn't have to do anything to earn those tokens, so they immediately dumped them. So we paid attention to all that, and then we really wanted to focus with this airdrop of like rewarding the people who had put the most amount of faith with us early. So like those that got bigger allocations were able to claim the soonest, and the smaller ones got to claim later. The last claim will go out on Friday, and that was also done with a view of like, if you spent the least amount in the ecosystem, you're more likely to sell. Is like kind of the calculation we were doing, and so we wanted to be able to spread out that sell pressure.
Mm,
Now, I've talked about how we haven't released our tokenomics. That was very intentional. People know
mm,
that 5% was given to episode one. There's a lot for us to talk about in terms
mhm,
of like how we are building this brand
mhm.
and how we continue to scale. This was very much like a if you know, you know stage. And now it's time for
Mm,
us to grow the community from the inside out and start to increase the amount of awareness and attention that
right,
we're building on the brand. And so
right.
I'm most excited about just proving the haters wrong that this is not a traditional meme coin. Like,
Love it.
this is a brand with staying power that in 2 months caught the entire space off guard. And now
Yeah.
imagine what we can do in 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
It's actually the first principles of how you should create a brand driven coin, right?
Right.
I love it, man. I love it. So super proud of that. Anything else excited going on right now in the next 3 to 6 months, and we'll wind it down here, brother.
Yeah, I think for us, like we take a lot of lessons from trying to be everywhere and feeling like we're deeply a part of, particularly the Solana ecosystem. We really want to double down there and be an active participant. And so we have a lot of thoughts about how we show up IRL. We think it's something that we can do better than anyone else. And so we want to continue to do that. The product, we got back this week after Breakpoint. We've already shipped 2 new features. We're going to keep doubling down there. We've got some, I know people have been looking for more like video style features without giving away too much. We're going to look to compete with the biggest IPs in terms of how you proliferate the brand. And we think we have a toolkit that no one else has to do that. And so we need to continue to invest in our community to help us grow this to the heights that we know it can be.
Dude, it's beautiful. Any closing words on NuCo before I ask you my last question on NuCo and specifically, and then we'll talk about the overall conversation.
I would just say pay attention. We do everything intentionally. We are deliberately waiting until all the airdrops have been done before kind of sharing a little bit more of our plans. We're watching. The beautiful thing about the blockchain is we can watch
Yeah,
everything. So
yeah.
if you have rode with us so far, we love you. We see you. We're going to put that energy back into you. If you've been interested about G-Boy, now is a great time to get involved before we get into episode 2. My DMs are open. You can tag me. Always happy to have a chat as well.
Yeah, I would say I would add to that, Austin. Insanely responsive, kind for a founder. I deal with founders all the time, and as you can imagine, founders are not the most responsive audience to deal with. So you've been fantastic, man. Last question. I ask a version of this to every guest. If someone were to ask you what it was like to be on the Mikey G podcast experience today, what would you say?
Warm. It was, I don't know, it felt like a warm hug. I appreciated that we were able to just speak openly to things outside of just like the tactics and more
Yeah,
about like how we got here as individuals and just bring a little bit more humanity to the space. Like we're real people and like we want to do good in the world. And yeah, I appreciate the longer format to kind of get into all that.
thanks, man. I mean, that makes me feel warm because that's exactly what I'm going for. And you felt that. And if I give my closing comments, man, there's so many things that stuck out. And I actually see this in the guest every time. And I don't know what it was. I think it was like maybe the sport. We were getting to like the sports section. Your eyes started lighting up about Kobe. Because always the beginning of the conversation, I think my guest is trying to feel out like, okay, what is this dude's true agenda? And it really is like, I just want to get to know you as a human being. And it was that moment where like the shoulders rolled back a little bit. And I was like, oh man, this is that now he's digging in. And then from there, beautiful things ensued. And I think the first thing that sticks out is, and I think it was like, it wasn't intentional, but you've just done so many things that we could probably talk about 15 minutes on, I don't know, the Disney thing, the traveling, shooting down Ivy League schools, being like, why journalism? There were so many things, but the takeaway there was you have no hesitation to try new things. And I want to reiterate this point because that is such a huge point for anybody that's listened to this conversation. I urge you to try a new thing a day. It doesn't have to be like learn a new subject, or read something about something new a day. Think about something differently a day. And you've embraced that for a long period of time, which makes sense as to why you are the human being you are today. I think your parents' story was really interesting to me. And I love the juxtaposition on the sense that to get this intrinsic motivation that you have, that then talked into the next thing I'll touch on is the leadership conversation. But for you to get the intrinsic motivation that you have from your parents that weren't grilling your, like grinding hard on you to get straight A's or else you're a huge disappointment, I think that's a healthy way to get there. And I also did see you talk, the way you talked about all of these subjects, they were in a healthy way, which is another thing that I got away from. Is like you have these very deep ingrained motivations, but you're also thinking at it in a healthy way, which is huge because a lot of people think it in an unhealthy way. Then too, the leadership conversation, phenomenal, fantastic. And I think people need to also like, I need a little bit more of you because I do need to be a little more blunt because I believe in a lot of the things that you say too. And I absolutely want people to walk away with the bluntness of, if you don't have a lot of the skill sets that we talked about, which is like, in the main one being, I mean, what's a harsh way to say it? People, you cannot be lazy. You have to be motivated to learn new things. You have to be motivated to try new things and to break through those brick walls. If you're not having that mindset, you are just not going to cut it out in a startup world at all. Like just the bottom line. And that's fine. That's not the end of the road for everybody. But don't try to say you want to be something and then not put in the work. And that conversation was fantastic. And then finally, dude, after we get off, one more minute, we'll talk about follow-ups once I hang up, once we stop the podcast. But my skill set, mindset, and what I'm trying to build in a parallel world couldn't align more. I think what you're building makes sense, and AI is fundamentally changing the entire world in less than 2 years or more. And there's going to be some hurt. I think there's going to be a lot of hurt because there's people that don't want to believe that this is going to change, and fear and change are the two emotions that humans really don't do well with. And there's going to be a lot of that, but you're creating solutions to help empower people to get through that. And that's actually, I think, the most amazing thing that you're doing is, hey, let's create AI systems to help empower creators to be better versions of themselves. And I'm going to do some of that hard work for them. So that was a beautiful conversation from the bottom of my heart. I really do think this is the beginning of a friendship. Thank you for your time. You're incredibly busy. You just gave me over 2 hours of your life. That is more than money can buy. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
And with that being said, people, Austin and Mikey G,